like. Indeed, we'd all love to invest in a Victorian home with a rich historical legacy, or even a country cottage far from the maddening crowd. But have these types of properties been affected by the slowdown, and are they a good investment? Fiona McLaughlin from privateseller.ie joins us now. Just before we move on to this, a lot of people will have been looking at that wonderful house in Monasterevan. What are they looking for that? What price range is that in?
The price for that property at the moment is 4.5 million.
Wow, okay.
That's what they're looking for, yeah. So, I mean, they're not easily bought. But typically the people that are looking at buying properties like this aren't vulnerable to sort of downturns in the economy. They're more dependent, actually, on the stock market and that type of thing. They're not running to their bank managers for a mortgage. You know, it tends to be from a company sale, or, you know, a lot of them are Celtic Cubs that are buying them.
Yeah,
you know?
you would think. Obviously, though, the price has been affected by the downturn, so therefore does that naturally follow on that now is a good time to get into that market because it's a good investment?
Well, I think now is a good time for anybody to get into any end of the market, to be honest with you. You know, absolutely. And I mean, property is always a good long-term investment. You know, what we got used to in the past was quick returns, you know, buying and selling very quickly. But over the long term, property is still a very good investment. The agents are saying that these properties are still selling. Now, there's definitely, I do think that these properties have suffered from the downturn as well. You know, I looked at some of the properties that I showed last year on the slot, and out of the 4 properties that we had shown between the 2 million and 15 million, only one of those is still for sale. 2 of them have been taken off the market, and one of the properties has been reduced from 10 million down to 4 million.
Wow.
Now, that's pretty significant. Now, typically properties like this and at this end of the market, you can expect them to stay on the market for a long time because
60% discount.
The sellers aren't necessarily in a hurry to sell. And, you know, people will wait for the right buyer to come along, you know.
Looking at some of these homes, the maintenance costs and, you know, just even the very essential running costs on a day-to-day basis, let alone what you might need to do with structure, roof, it must run into tens of thousands. Yeah,
it's a very different slant to what we've been doing previously in terms of the energy efficiency. People know that when you're buying a big old property like this, that you're going to have significant maintenance and possibly repair costs or whatever. That's what comes with an old property. You're buying it for different reasons. They're trophy properties. You're buying them for space, for a sense of privacy. What you do need to do if you are thinking of buying a property like this, whether for residential or commercial reasons, is to do a planning search. And that will tell you whether there's a preservation order on it or not. And that's what you need to do before even looking at what projects you would need to do, because if there is a preservation order on it, that will impact on what you can actually do on the property without planning. But high-cost projects with properties like this, anything structural, obviously, is going to, in the blink of an eye, cost 10,000. In the blink of an eye, re-roofing, replacing the windows. Some of the older properties may have aluminium windows, and you need to get them replaced, replastering, restoring period features. Extremely expensive skills to be brought in.
What happens when it is listed out as a protection order there? Your building then, somebody sends an overseer from one of the government bodies to check that the thing has been done properly as it's ongoing, or do they come at the end and say that's okay, but get that out? And
well, there's an interaction as the process goes along, so you get advice. You can get a declaration from the local authority as to what works would be allowed without planning, and then after that you go through a very similar planning process as you would with any other planning application, except that you give more detail and more photographs and that type of thing. It's a good thing that these type of properties are actually being saved and preserved, you know, and it's a good thing that there's a liability on the people that mind them, you know.
Is it unfair then to say that it's an ego or a vanity purchase in the case of sort of the Celtic Tiger Cub who's got tens of millions to spare?
There's probably a certain amount of that. Some people actually have a connect with the building, and actually I was talking to Brenda about this, and Brenda, the minute she walked into the property, she just felt a connect with it. Some people love buying into the history of the property, and as we've seen with this property, the famous tenor Count John McCormack actually lived in the property and called them the gem of them all. So that's a fabulous legacy and history to have about the property that you're living in. And there's definitely a sense of, Brenda had this sense of being the caretaker.
Well, that's nice as well, isn't it?
And she's actually ready to move on and downsize, and her kids have moved out, and she's ready to let somebody take up that mantle now and actually care for the property and do maybe different things to it, you know.
So 9 bedrooms, 9.6 acres of land, all to be looked after as well. What do they do with the land at the moment? It's not farmed?
It's not being farmed at the moment. Brenda has put a lot of time and effort into creating formal the formal garden, 2,000 boxed hedges.
Oh,
and
it'd be lovely.
Absolutely
beautiful
fabulous.
strolling.
Yeah.
Just when you come down the stairs at the end of the video clip, there was almost a wistful look.
Yes.
And I was like, wow, I really like this. What really appealed to you when you stepped into it? What was the most
I
appealing
think
thing?
I have to say I love the period details, and I do love the sense of space and the sense of proportion. The cornicing was absolutely fabulous in the house. The sense of light in the house was really spectacular, and just everything so grand. The fireplaces and the windows and the old sash windows and the old shutters. It was authentic.
Okay,
really
now a lot of people watching this morning will be like me and you, wistfully gazing, knowing that unless the lottery comes up this evening, there's not a chance in
never know.
of getting your hands on the keys there. But you were saying just something to bring back to people who might be still interested in getting onto the property ladder. Now is actually a good time. You reckon now's the time to maybe go?
Absolutely. You know, there's ups and downs in the property market. The one difficulty is that money is getting harder to come by. But as an investor, it's definitely a very good time to get in. Even as a first-time buyer, there's a lot of people under pressure out there. The property market is really, it's on its knees. You know, it's on its knees. So it's an incredibly good time to get in there and start negotiating. It's a buyer's market. It absolutely is. It doesn't get much better than this. Even if it does go down by another 10% over the next few years, once the overhang of properties starts to go, you know, the balance of power will start to shift again in favour of the seller.
I have to throw this at you now, and you'll probably shoot me. House or apartment?
House, absolutely.
Okay,
yeah, without shadow of a doubt. There's so much more that you can do with the house. There's more demand for houses. They tend to withstand the downturns a bit better than the apartments. I know apartment owners are probably going to shoot me for this, but you know, again, it boils down to location as well. Yeah. Apartments in city centre are doing very well, and you know, have experienced an appreciation. You know, so you just have to be sensible about where the location of the property type is.
City centre always wins.
Yeah,
I'm thinking of buying a second property.
Thanks for pinning me down on that one.
Your tip of the week. Always get a silver done to buy a second-hand property. It sounds like common sense, but you'd be surprised at the number of people who wing it.
The amount of people that get into, and it's not just for period properties. Do not consider buying a property. The valuation that you get for the bank is not a structural survey. You need to get a survey. It'll save you thousands in the long run in many cases.
And peace of mind.
Absolutely, yeah.
Fantastic. Fiona, pleasure as always. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Soon, as they say. Now we'll take a little break. See you back for more Ireland AM in a few minutes' time.